Water damage, it's pretty much every homeowner's worst nightmare. But what's interesting is that it's usually not the big dramatic flood you see in the movies. Nope, it's often the hidden leak, that slow drip, the unseen problem that can cause an incredible amount of trouble. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at what really happens when you call in the pros to deal with a water emergency. So, let's just imagine for a second. You walk in the door after a long day, and you hear it, that dreaded sound of running water. You walk into your kitchen and, yep, it's a mini lake. What's your very first move? I mean, panic sets in, right? But what you do in those next few minutes can literally change everything. And here's the thing. The real problem isn't always a big, obvious burst pipe. A lot of the time, water damage is way more sneaky. It's a silent invasion, doing its dirty work completely out of sight. The real culprits are often things we use every single day. That HVAC unit in your attic that's been working overtime all summer, well, its little drain line can get clogged and just overflow. Or maybe you've got tiny cracks in your foundation letting water seep in silently after a rainstorm. And don't even get me started on aging water heaters. They're basically ticking time bombs, just waiting to let go of 40 or 50 gallons of water without any warning at all. And this right here is the absolute kicker. This is why you cannot wait. In a humid climate, as soon as that water gets in, a biological clock starts ticking. You have just 24 to 48 hours, that's 1 or 2 days, before mold starts to grow. Suddenly, it's not just a water problem anymore. It's a serious potential health problem. So, with that clock ticking away in your head, what are the critical first steps you should take? What do you do in those first few moments while you're waiting for help to arrive? Okay, first things first. If you can do it safely, shut off the water at the source. That might mean finding your home's main water valve and cranking it shut. Step 2, and this is non-negotiable, stay out of any rooms with standing water. Water and electricity are a deadly mix. Third, get what you can. Photos, important documents, anything valuable, and move it somewhere high and dry. And finally, you make the most important phone call of the day. You call it 24/7 Professional Restoration Company. Time is absolutely of the essence. So, once you make that call, this incredibly organized process kicks into high gear. This is where the sheer chaos of a water emergency gets transformed into a methodical, scientific procedure. It's actually pretty fascinating. The second the pros arrive, they're not just there to mop. Think of them as water detectives. Their first job is to find the source. Then, and this is super important, they have to figure out the water's contamination level. They use these high-tech thermal cameras to map out exactly where all the moisture has spread, behind walls, under floors, everywhere. Only then do they fire up the heavy-duty, truck-mounted equipment and start extracting all that standing water. Once the standing water is gone, the real science begins. Now, this isn't just pointing a few fans at a wet spot. No way. This is about creating a perfectly controlled drying environment. We're talking massive commercial dehumidifiers and high-speed air movers. They can even inject dry air right into the cavities of your walls. And the whole time, they're monitoring everything, taking moisture readings every single day to track the progress and tweak the equipment. So how long does all this take? Well, on average, you're looking at about 3 to 5 days for the structure of your home to get completely and totally dry. Of course, that can change. If you have really porous materials like plaster, or if the water was highly contaminated, it can take longer. The goal isn't to be fast, it's to be right. All right, and that brings us to the finish line. The job is not done until the meters say it's done. The team verifies that every single affected material is back to its normal dry state, and they document everything. That paperwork is absolutely crucial for your insurance claim. After all that, and only after all that, do they move on to the final restoration, taking out anything that couldn't be saved and rebuilding the area so it looks like nothing ever happened. So let's peek behind the curtain for a second, because this isn't just about hard work. It's a field that's totally governed by science, some really high standards, and some seriously cool technology. The whole process is guided by something called the IICRC S500 standard. Now, that sounds super technical, I know, but just think of it as the official rulebook for water restoration. It makes sure every company is following the exact same proven methods for everything, from classifying the water to proving the job is done right. It's a standard that really protects you, the homeowner. And one of the very first things that rulebook defines with how to classify the water, which is critical. See, Category 1 is clean water, like from a broken water supply line. Category 2 is gray water. It's a little contaminated. Think water from a washing machine. And then there's category 3, black water, which is, well, it's grossly contaminated. We're talking sewage backup or floodwater from outside. Each category demands a completely different approach to safety and cleanup.
But water is so sneaky, isn't it? It gets into all these places you just can't see. So how in the world do professionals find moisture that's hiding behind your drywall or trapped underneath your beautiful hardwood floors?
The answer? It's actually really cool. They use thermal imaging. These cameras don't actually see moisture. What they see are tiny differences in temperature. See, wet stuff is cooler because of evaporation, and on a thermal camera, these cool spots just light up. It creates this perfect map showing exactly where the water went. It's how they can be positive they found and dried every last drop. And all of this brings us to what might be the most important takeaway of all: why getting a thorough, professional job done isn't just a good idea, it's completely non-negotiable. Just listen to this quote from professionals who do this every day. It says everything. If a home isn't dried properly to industry standards, your insurance company might just deny the claim. And even worse, 6 months down the road, you start to smell that awful, musty odor of mold growing inside your walls. The problem you thought was fixed is back, and it's angry. So why does all this matter so much? Because when you boil it down, professional restoration isn't just about cleaning up a puddle. It's about protecting your home from long-term structural rot. It's about protecting your family's health from dangerous mold. It's about making sure you have all the right documentation for your insurance claim. And ultimately, it's about protecting the huge financial investment you have in your property. And that really leads to the final thought, doesn't it? This isn't just about what to do after a disaster happens, but maybe thinking about it beforehand. Knowing who to call and what to do is a huge first step. But it leaves you with a bigger question to think about. When it comes to the hidden risks of water, is your home truly protected?